Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku, back with another video. Um, so before we get started, with this rant video, I'm gonna just briefly, thank the people for the wishes in the Discord, in my Discord server. I'm not going to get into what's going on, but if anyone wants to know, it's in my server. I talk about it, but I don't feel like talking about it on my YouTube videos, because I just don't feel like it's right to do. My YouTube. So I just want to, thank the people that were, wishing it well, as well as some other people that I told in some other Discord service that I'm in. So, yeah, but that's all I'm going to really talk about on it. And thank you for that, to all the people that were wishing me well and sending me, DMs and stuff in Discord. So, with that, I want to get on to this rant about WrestleMania, which night 2 would have been very devastating had it not been for the news I found out shortly after, which again I won't talk about, but nonetheless, I'm gonna talk about WrestleMania 37, and I'm gonna rant about this card because, quite frankly, I mean, night 2 was basically booked horribly. Night 1 had its ups and downs. Night 1 was the better of the two, and again, I'm gonna probably do a results video on this. I have been kind of more active on Twitter about this WrestleMania card, and I've argued with some people on this. I even got into a discussion with Geekdom 101 of all people on Twitter. He actually replied back to some of my tweets, and while I do disagree with his opinion on Roman Reigns, we will get to that. Which I believe he's going to be making a video on his World of Geekdom channel. I know he was at the event, so he probably heard more of the crowd noise than anyone else. But we'll get to that stuff in a second. But so I'm gonna rant about a lot of things that happened on this card that I thought were stupid, and I'm gonna explain to why they are stupid. And I've already hinted at this. So the first thing, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for WWE Champion. So my problem with this match wasn't the winner, because as you guys, if you looked on Twitter or my Discord, I was excited that Bobby Lashley won. That was a really great way to kick off the show, because I've been a huge Bobby Lashley fan since he debuted. And it's overdue that he's a world champion, and I'm glad he's going to get a run after WrestleMania to be the champion. But the one thing I had an issue with this match was the ending, because they didn't do the 3 hands up thing. I know the WWE is very inconsistent with this, but this has been always a rule: the 3 hands, and then you're out. They didn't do that here. They didn't even do it once. So they just had the bell rung. So that's really my only issue with the match. I didn't really have an issue with the distraction thing, but again, I will cover that more with an actual review. But again, so that's my rant on that. Tag match, no one really cared, but I'm happy that more of the girls got a chance to do stuff. Nothing wrong with Cesaro match, right winner. AJ Ahmad was what it was. Surprisingly, I will give my props to Bad Bunny, because I thought I was going to shit on him in this rant, but no, I'm not, because he actually did very good in this match. I'm very surprised that a celebrity did that well. Anybody who can do a goddamn pile driver crusher, you know, you can seriously break your neck doing that move if you screw it up. So, on the person getting it. So, anybody who can do that and then do it on the ring, that you get my big ups. I don't like really necessarily. I'm not necessarily a fan of his music genre, because I'm just not into that type of stuff. But you know, big ups to him. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. The only thing I'm gonna rant about this is I know some people are not gonna agree with me on this, but I do believe the wrong person won. Sasha Banks, in my opinion, should have won that match. I am sorry. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's the fact of the matter is you don't take the title off the person who legitimately is the best wrestler on that roster. No way. Sasha Banks has been the blueprint. She has been legitimately, not to take her catchphrase away from her, but she legitimately is the boss of the women's division right now. And you don't take the belt off of the person who is like the best woman wrestler on the roster. You didn't do it with Becky Lynch. You don't do it with Sasha Banks. I don't care that they're trying to make the new star. You know, she could have won it at any time. It would have been still just fine. I don't agree with her winning here. Sorry to anybody who thinks that she deserved to win. I'm sorry. I go with the best wrestler on the roster to winning. So now we're going to get to the major thing, which, again, most of these issues happened on night 2. This is where all the weird, dumb shit started happening. Okay. Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Okay. Now, I didn't get to watch it live, and we couldn't rewind it. But when I found out what happened, because I seen the highlight of the ending, when I found out what happened in this match, I'm glad I didn't watch it. Because what a dumb, shitty ending, a dumb, crappy, all-around match. That's the build you give us. That was the most important thing on Raw. Not Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, I'm sick of this whole WWE promoting that Drew McIntyre carried Raw. No, he didn't. Raw had the worst ratings with him as champion. That is a fact. And no one can deny that. That is a fact. Okay? It is, the numbers don't lie. Drew McIntyre did not carry the company. Okay? I'm sick of that bullcrap. Braun Strowman, when he was Universal Champion, SmackDown had better ratings than Raw. Okay? They weren't, don't get me wrong, SmackDown ratings weren't that great, but they were still overall better than Raw's at the time. Okay? So don't give me this crap that he carried the company. Sasha Banks, if anyone, carried the company. Okay? With the work she did with Bayley and stuff like that. Okay? That was interesting. And then, of course, with the Fiend and Randy feud. And then they gave Randy the championship. And then they took it off of him, which was stupid. I thought that was stupid at the time, and I still think it was stupid now. I would have rather had Randy gone into WrestleMania with the WWE Championship. Of course, that would have taken away the Fiend feud. But then again, looking back on it, I would be glad now because the whole thing was a waste now. And then of course when Roman became champion, the ratings started going up too in the Universal Championship on SmackDown. But the point being is Drew McIntyre did not carry the company for a year. Just because he was the champion. Okay, he was a champion and he shouldn't have been the champion that long. He should have lost the title like at SummerSlam or something. Because he was not drawing as champion. And yes, I know people are going to use the argument, well, there was no fans until the Thunderdome and all this stuff, but you know what? You still have to carry the ratings. You have to keep everyone interested still, you know. So, I mean, there is still the drawback, the TV ratings. Since nobody is attending the shows anymore because they can't, you know, Performance Center, Thunderdome, whatever, you have to draw people in, which means the TV ratings should be going doubly up because no one can watch the events anymore live at the shows. So you should be drawing the TV ratings in. Okay, double that. And Drew couldn't do that as champion. Okay, they give the belt to Randy, they take it off to him for no goddamn reason. And then they do this great feud, which is the only thing that was interesting in the latter half of 2020, towards the end of 2020 of Monday Night Raw. That was the only thing that was interesting for several months, was the Fiend and Randy Orton. That really should have been for the title, okay, because of how interesting it was going in. That is what you should have built towards, okay, not this bullshit with Drew McIntyre continuing to have him as champion. Okay, alright, you want to try the experiment again? Go ahead when they have fans again and see if he draws. But right now, you're keeping him on the title, keeping the title on him for as long as they did, you know, when he wasn't drawing on Raw, was stupid. Okay? It was just dumb. And that's another reason why I'm happy he didn't win. Because, you know, he was failing to bring in the fans to watch on TV. You know, try someone that at least, you know, you can see, like, hey, let's see where this guy can go. Bobby Lashley is someone who's worked his ass off for years to become champion. I mean, yeah, he left in his first run. Took him 11 years to come back. I know he did some stuff in TNA for a while. But, you know, I mean, in the first, when he first came back, they should have really kind of put the title on him, you know, or built towards him, you know, to getting the title. But, you know, who knows? I mean, Lashley might not even get his chance right now if it wasn't for the fact that Brock Lesnar won't come back until fans are back in the audience. So that's one good thing about this right now. But, you know, Drew losing was a good thing because they need to get a run with someone else that can possibly do better. But getting back to that whole Fiend and Randy thing, I mean, the whole build was stupid. I mean, the Fiend lost, got burned on fire. They did this whole thing with Alexa Bliss. He finally comes back at Fastlane. They do the WrestleMania, and that's what you give us. This match was worse than the last WrestleMania match they did with Bray Wyatt and Orton. It's insane how this could be worse than that match, because that was a letdown match too. It's like they ruined the Fiend. They ruined him. They ruined him in this match. The Goldberg match did not ruin the Fiend. Okay, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's been ruined since Goldberg. No, he wasn't. It was his first loss. He had to lose eventually. Okay, and why not lose to Goldberg? You know, of all people, he never faced Goldberg before, so it also made sense storyline wise. So he never crossed paths with him, so it made even more sense. Orton winning here makes absolutely no sense, and I know some people are trying to justify it with, oh well, the Alexa Bliss is like somehow like now in control of the Fiend as Sister Abigail, which by the way she is not Sister Abigail, Alexa Bliss now like has control of the Fiend, and now she is controlling him instead of him controlling her. That is not an excuse. You could have exploited that after WrestleMania, after he won. Okay, and made that interesting. You don't do it with a feud that lasted that long. The Fiend needed to get his revenge on Randy. You bury him with a single RKO after how many curve stomps did Seth Rollins give the Fiend? 6? Was it 6? I don't remember. I know it was a shitload of them. That I do remember. 6 of them, and 6 of them? Really? 6 of them, guys. 6. Again, keep in mind. Around 6. Makes no sense, guys. Makes no sense. Okay? For him to lose for a single RKO. A single RKO ends the Fiend. And then you do this whole thing with Alexa Bliss. Okay? Which, don't get me wrong. Alexa Bliss should be in the women's title hunt. I agree. I think she should be. I think she should have went for the Raw Women's title instead of Rhea Ripley. Because Rhea Ripley just made her main roster debut and now she's champion. I don't agree with that decision at all. Which that's another thing we're gonna get into later. But the tag match, no one cares. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Good match. I liked it. I didn't like Logan Paul in it, though. So my whole thing with this match is Logan Paul's involvement. Okay, so the story between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens has lasted well past WWE. Well before WWE. But, of course, WWE-ified it, made it more sense into their own, canon, so to speak. So, whatever, I had no issues with that. My issues is if you're going to include a celebrity into a match like this where, there is personal animosity towards the two because they, of their lifelong friendship, if you're going to include him into a storyline like that, it needs to make sense. It shouldn't be like, Logan Paul, is the guest for Sami Zayn. No. Why not make him the goddamn enforcer? That way he can actually be somewhat involved and then, not really be involved, kind of, once the referee gets knocked out, he comes in and, he pins Sami Zayn to the mat. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens wins the same way. Make it more involvement. The whole guest thing was just dumb. He was just out there like, oh, yeah, and then he does his little thing at the end, and it's just like, oh, yeah, I mean, we know he's going to get stunnered because he pushed Kevin Owens 2 weeks ago on SmackDown. That was just, I hated that. I liked the match, don't get me wrong, and we'll get into that when I do a review of it. Liked the match, just didn't like the whole thing with Logan Paul. If you're going to include a celebrity, at least make it make sense. It just felt like he shouldn't have been there. You need to make it make sense. Because obviously he has no real attachment to Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens. Okay, so if you're going to insert him in there, at least make it make sense. Make him an enforcer in the match. And don't tell me that WWE doesn't do them anymore because they just did it last month at Fastlane with Edge. So, they obviously are okay with using enforcers now, again. So, Sheamus and Riddle. Glad Sheamus won. Not a fan of Riddle, obviously. People know that already. So, Apollo Crews versus Big E. So, at the ending of the match, they had the guy from Raw Underground, and they basically tried to pretend that we didn't know who he was, that he was a new guy, which he wasn't. Which, by the way, he was drafted to Raw, back when the draft was in October, or whatever that was, and then he was off television, and then they dropped the Raw Underground thing, and now he disappears. And now he disappears out of nowhere, like a new wrestler now. I believe he has a new name too. I think he was Kingo or something. What was his name? What was his... I forget what his name was. I don't remember what his Raw Underground... Debly Kato. Debly Kago. I think that's how you say it. Or at least that was his old name, I guess. But, again, Do they really think in the social media era of society that people are not going to remember who these people are? Like, seriously? Like, I mean, he doesn't even look any different. He doesn't even look any different either. The only difference is he's wearing a Nigerian, like, general shirt, I think, or general jacket, or whatever it is. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't know what it is that he's wearing. It's some. I think someone told me, or I heard on Twitter or something, it was a Nigerian, like, general jacket or whatever. But that's literally the only difference he has. The hairdo is the same. Everything about him, beard and facial, all that stuff. Everything's the same, basically. Like, do people really think that we're not gonna know the difference? The Rhea Ripley and Asuka match. Well, for one, Rhea Ripley was a heel, and I had explained this to actually my friend because he actually thought she was a babyface in going to this match, and I told him no, and I showed proof, like literally, the Raw before, she beat the crap out of Asuka and turned heel. But you wouldn't get that. But I will agree that you wouldn't get that idea from the match that Rhea Ripley and Asuka worked. But if you did watch the shows, you would know that she was a heel going in. Didn't agree with Rhea Ripley winning. I mean, this is literally her main roster debut. Yes, she competed at last year's WrestleMania, but again, it was still a part of NXT. NXT is a developmental territory for WWE, and it really doesn't count as the main roster. And I know people are hard to understanding that concept, but that is the fact. Okay? And quite frankly, I personally, like I said, I would rather have Alexa Bliss win it. But again, she's too busy doing this whole thing with the Fiend. But I don't know why that should take away from her wrestling in the women's division, though. So again, that's my take on Asuka and Rhea Ripley. So my biggest issue, as you guys know, I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan. But I'm going to try to keep my bias aside from this. Might be very challenging, but I will try. So, the main event. Roman Reigns defending the Universal title with Paul Heyman and Jey Uso against Edge and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was the babyface going into this. Edge was a heel, and Roman Reigns was a heel. Edge was cheered equally the same as Daniel Bryan, though Roman was booed. So my biggest issue is the result. So, night 2, other than Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, the babyfaces lost. All the heels won. And that, to me, is a huge issue. And especially with the main event. Now, some people are like, well, Roman Reigns needed to retain. He needed to retain. He needed to show dominance. And to what I say to that is wrong. Okay? Roman Reigns has been dominating for years. Years! Yes, he's a heel now, but the stuff he did before he was a heel still counts. That all still counts. Just because he's a heel now doesn't erase all the stuff he did before when he was being overbooked as a babyface, even though overpushed as a babyface, even though people didn't like him as a babyface and they booed him. Okay? So no, he did not deserve to win. And to all the people that are saying, oh, he'll lose his dominance for losing a match at WrestleMania? How do you lose your dominance for losing a single match at WrestleMania? When he probably could easily win back the title next month or even a couple months from now. That makes no goddamn sense. It's happened multiple times. It's not like it's the first time it's happened. That makes no sense. Cena has lost at Mania. Does that mean Cena lost his dominance? Oh my God! He lost to Randy Orton, and in the triple threat with Triple H at 24. Does that mean he loses his dominance? What kind of crap is this? I don't agree with this at all. And I don't understand people's logic. And most importantly, the last match, the main event, which is truly the last match, the babyface wins. Period. Okay? Every time they have done the heel victory at WrestleMania, and this is a fact, and I brought this up on Twitter. Every time they have done it, it has not been received well at all. It has failed miserably. WrestleMania 2000, aka WrestleMania 16. The Fatal 4-Way match with Rock, Mick Foley, Big Show, and Triple H defending the title. Triple H walked out as champion as a heel. He was the first heel to do so, and it was negatively received by multiple fans, and not many people were happy about it. Okay? Move forward a year later, WrestleMania 17. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, babyface versus babyface. Austin walked in as a babyface and walked out as a heel as the new WWE champion. Which, not only was this a terrible decision, okay, for WrestleMania-wise, but it was a terrible decision character-wise. This pretty much sought the end of the wrestling dominance of people's interest. Because Stone Cold Steve Austin was a character that drew, the Stone Cold Steve Austin rebellious gimmick character that he portrayed, which was mostly really Stone Cold, but the character he portrayed pretty much died. I mean, yeah, Stone Cold was still a draw, don't get me wrong, after he did it, after he turned heel. But he was no longer the huge monumental, draw that he was after he did that. And everyone has talked about this. JR has talked about this. Austin has even talked about this. He even regrets it now. I mean, of course, it was his call and Vince's call, but, looking back at it now, he's even said that he regrets this decision. Okay, because it was a terrible decision. Stone Cold should have never turned heel, especially since Rock was going to make movies during that time. He was gonna go film The Scorpion King, before coming back. He obviously came back after he was done filming, but he was gonna be gone for the next couple of months. So they had no Rock, who was a babyface. Stone Cold was now a heel. So their two megastar guys, babyfaces, were either gone or one was now a heel. And they've even said that they did not have anyone else prepared to be that next guy, to be that, strong babyface. They never recovered in that. They never recovered when they did that. Okay? Austin was never the same. I mean, yeah, he went back to being a babyface eventually after the invasion angle ended, but it was never the same. It was never the same. He was still a draw. He was still a high draw, but it was never the same, guys, once that happened. So, yeah, that was not good. It was not a good decision. So then, the next time it happened, okay, the next time a heel won, WrestleMania 27. John Cena versus The Miz. Terrible match, by the way. Miz won. Of course, The Rock finished him off with a rock bottom, and they closed the show. But even though you got the, kind of cool babyface, standing tall ending with The Rock, it was still negatively received. One, the match was terrible. And number two, which didn't surprise me, by the way, knowing the guy who was wrestling in it, but it was negatively received. So, yeah. And then, of course, WrestleMania 31 was next. And that ended with... that match ended with... Seth Rollins cashing in. Now, Seth Rollins was a heel, but because people would not accept Roman Reigns as the babyface, they had to do this. And that's why it worked, because no matter who it was, they were going to cheer for anybody but Roman. And so that's why they did it. And that's the only reason why the Seth Rollins thing worked. And it was a Money in the Bank thing, so Money in the Bank cash in at WrestleMania, which was the first time ever it happened. But, I mean, that's the only reason why that worked. That could not have worked with anyone else, because literally people were up in arms about Roman Reigns main eventing that year, because they wanted Daniel Bryan to main event. So that's the only reason why that worked, was that it was anybody but Roman. They would not accept him. So that's the only reason why the Seth Rollins thing worked. Move forward then to WrestleMania 34 once again. Brock and Roman, and it was again another case of anybody but Roman deal, because a lot of people wanted Braun Strowman in that match, and they didn't get it, of course, as we all know, because WWE just wanted to keep going on that Roman Reigns high horse instead of going with the people, who the people actually want to win. So they did that match, and they had to change the ending. The ending was supposed to happen. The fifth F5 that Brock got, I believe it was the fifth F5 that finished Roman off. That was actually supposed to be countered, and then Roman was supposed to spear him, and then that was supposed to be the end. But because the fans shitted on the match, like they shitted on it completely. They didn't like Roman, they didn't like Brock, they completely shitted on it. Because they would not accept Roman as the babyface. Didn't work again. And so Vince just went with Brock. And while, yes, Brock was the better idea to win because people would not accept Roman as champion, at the end of the day, it was still negatively received because, again, they didn't want either of them in the main event. And you can see that based on what Brock Lesnar does once he gets to the locker room, or once he gets back from gorilla position. Once he walks through gorilla, what happens? Brock Lesnar throws the Universal title right at Vince McMahon. That just tells you how terrible that match was. The fans completely shitted on it. Heels are not supposed to win the main event of WrestleMania. It's not supposed to happen. Roman winning the match was stupid. Okay? And not one video, not one explanation, because I've already heard pretty much every explanation, can pretty much change my opinion on this. Roman Reigns did not deserve to win that match. Period. He has been overbooked for years. And just because he's been a heel, a successful heel right now, does not mean he should have won WrestleMania. It should have been Daniel Bryan. And hell, Daniel Bryan could have lost it the next month. Apparently, there's going to be a WrestleMania Backlash, which is just stupid in itself because, it's not attached to the WrestleMania canon. So it just makes it even more stupid. That's another thing we could rant about. WrestleMania Backlash is the next pay-per-view. Let's have him win there instead. But no, we got to have Daniel Bryan lose. Just to piss him off. Piss the fans off, that wanted Daniel Bryan to win that match. They had Daniel and Edge get both pinned. And just stupid. The whole night 2, mostly night 2. I didn't really have as much of an issue with night one. Night one was pretty good. I mean, I had my couple nitpicks, obviously with night two, but overall night one was, or with night one, but overall night one had a much better solid card than or solid results than night two did, and match quality. Yeah, the Daniel and Roman and Edge match was great, but the ending was wrong. That was my gripe with it. My gripe is the wrong person won. Daniel Bryan should have gotten that one more run as champion. He could have put over Big E. He could have put over pretty much anybody that they wanted him to put over. You know, but you know, after a couple month reign as champion. But putting over Roman Reigns, I think, is a mistake. I don't think Roman Reigns should hold on to the title until next year's WrestleMania at all. I totally disagree with that 100%. Booking logic. And that's pretty much my take on this, my rant on the WrestleMania card. I'll try to do a result video if anyone's interested about it, about my opinions on the overall match qualities, but yeah, very disappointed. I'm happy the fans got to go there, but the fans not getting to go home happy with babyface finish to me is dog shit. Should never happen at a WrestleMania. It's never been universally received at all when a heel goes out on top at the end of WrestleMania. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm out. Comment, rate again. If you want to join my Discord, link will be in the description as well. It's always public, and you got discussions always going on there all the time. And that's about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. Again, hit the notification bell for all the latest contents if you are a new subscriber, and like, comment, and yeah, and then subscribe. That's about it. I'm the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of it. Peace!